Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to repeat everything that I've already said. I'd hope it would be revealed and reflected in the future communication. So, yeah. Basically, the goal, again, of the SDG Plus Club is to foster the sustainable development of the society, of the humanity, of the global population of Earth. We believe that those targets, those goals make sense, that they are the most urgent, acute, high priority goals that should be attained this century. And we are just adding on top of that 3 aspects. And one of them, Evgenia has already mentioned, it's the philosophy, because we are sure that without this philosophical foundation, sustainable development just doesn't make any sense. So basically, any person can ask the question, why should I care? Okay, there are 17 goals. So what? What's in it for me? Right? So, and we hear those questions every day. And probably you have already heard those questions from your friends, relatives already. And the only layer at which we can answer those questions is the philosophical layer. So you can't explain to a hedonistic person why should he restrain his or her consumption in the hedonistic kind of values, because it won't make any sense. So unless you talk about altruism or effective, efficient altruism, egoistic altruism, long-termism, reasonism, and things of that sort, you won't be able to convince anybody in the reasonability, in the sustainable development, that it makes sense, that it should be attained, that you should do something to attain that. Okay, so that's one of the aspects. And I guess those of you who have philosophical education would be very interested to discover the ontological, gnosiological, epistemological, axiological, eschatological, and other aspects of this reasonism, or to put it more simply, sustainabilism philosophy. Okay, so that's one of the aspects. The other 2 aspects that I guess haven't been mentioned yet are the following. So the first one, and basically that's the first one we mention usually. So we don't start with the philosophy because it's usually too hard to comprehend, to digest. Philosophy in itself is very hard. So we start that basically SDG Plus is just trying to stress, focus, emphasize more attention on the individual level, on the individual contribution, what people, what citizens, what consumers, what employees can do to help the humanity to reach the Sustainable Development Goals. Why we do that? Because of 2 reasons. First of all, we see that governments and corporations, they don't fulfill their promises. So we see that, we hear that from the news every day. And we know from the scientific research that we've made that even those goals, even if they were accomplished, that wouldn't be enough, that wouldn't be sufficient. Those goals are not ambitious enough in order for the humanity to survive and to be prosperous and to be alive, and etc., etc. Yes, and the UN, as one of the organizations, is not that efficient. It could have been much more efficient. But again, we base our framework on SDG because we think that SDG is the miracle of the world. It's great that the humanity has managed to agree at least on something, right? On those 17 goals in 2015, 192 countries. So that's great. But of course, we understand that that was a compromise. And as you know, those 17 goals are not obligatory. So if this or that country doesn't meet the goal, well, there are no repercussions basically. So the country doesn't suffer officially, right? So it's not an obligatory instrument. It's a voluntary instrument. Yes, that's a framework. That's a reputational kind of aspect, but still, if this or that country doesn't meet the expectations, well, we tried, but we haven't managed to do that. So the corporations are in the same situation. Although you hear a lot of scrutiny and regulations that are improving on a daily basis, EU, Securities Exchange Commission, etc., 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 climate border adjustment tax. So you hear that from the news as well. Taxes, fines, emissions trading systems, whatever. But again, at the same time, we know that, well, there is a small percentage of companies that really commit to sustainable development goals. And even if they do, we know about greenwashing, and there are some other terms for that, that basically that, again, set not enough ambitious targets, or they just populate in their reports information that is beneficial for them, and they hide other information. So basically, it works, but again, it could have worked much more efficient. So we understand that governments and corporations are basically fictional entities. They don't exist in their reality. As Harari names them, intersubjective terms. So all governments and all corporations are made of people for people. So they are made of us and for us. So basically, the only natural and really existing in the physical world entity is a person, is an individual. And we want to entitle, to bring back the ownership of those questions of your own life and the future of the humanity, you being the fractal of the humanity, possessing all its features. For the sustainable development. Okay, so it's upon us, it's up to us to care about sustainable development. And if we don't care, if we don't vote with our votes on some elections, or with our dollar, if we buy something or not buy something, in our behavior, what we consume, how we behave with each other, do we respect each other, do we tolerate each other, how we communicate, etc., how we regard each other as equals or not. Okay, so those questions are totally, well, they're already partially philosophical, but at least they are at like totally individual. So it's up to each and every one of us. And the last aspect is that we want to think beyond 2030. So because we understand that most probably we're going to leave beyond 2030, and our children are going to leave beyond 2030. And so what is going to happen after that? What would be the goals, the sustainable development goals after 2030? Like by 2050 or 2100 at least. So, and we know that there are a lot of technologies that are drastically changing the landscape, the world we live in, like AI, right? ChatGPT, you've all heard about that. Like human-computer interfaces, like thermonuclear energy or fusion energy, like interstellar traveling, stations, faring, etc. So like genetics or CRISPR-Cas9 or gene editing, etc. So there are like numerous technologies that are drastically changing our life. And it's evident that they are not almost at all covered in the SDGs, right? And we understand that we as leaders, as global citizens, as quite technologically, digitally savvy people, we can and we must tackle those issues. and we must address them, and we must augment SDGs with some coverage of those technologies and how they would be utilized, and what and can and must we do right now to either foster their development or make their development more ethical or controllable or equal, etc., etc. So those are also very important issues that we want to cover additionally, besides the core SDGs that we also believe are relevant and we all should aspire to attain them. So that's basically it. That's kind of the philosophy, the concept of the SDG Plus Club. Yeah, probably some kind of couple of organizational or technical questions that I want to cover. So as I've mentioned, the core, there are, I guess, yeah, two or three goals for this year for SDG Plus Club, namely, like operationally, right? So one of the first goals is 300 members, and I'm absolutely sure it's attainable. We are already at this pace of adding up to 20 new members every month, but I guess we are going to increase the speed at which we add new members with the help of you guys. Basically, that's why we're searching for all those social media marketing managers, event managers, membership managers, etc., and content managers. And yes, the content is probably the second goal, because we want to create at least 3 reports or documents this year that are going to cover, namely, those 3 aspects that make SDG Plus unique. Again, that's philosophy, that's individual level. We call that an handbook, basically, to people. So what exactly can they do right now in their like ordinary lives to make the change? And this third one would be some kind of a foresight of what is going to happen beyond 2030, and what should we do right now so that it happens, so it would happen in a positive way. So those 3 documents, probably 100 pages each. And we also want to post smaller pieces that would be dedicated to the same topics, but just in a blog, some kind of articles that would cover like these or that targets, these or that aspects, these or that kind of books, researches, reports, people interviews, courses, lectures, whatever. Just to kind of tease the outer public to basically read that content. Probably it would inspire them at this very level, but then again to lead them to become club members so that they would address all those issues systematically. And yes, the third goal is basically to build the team of SDG Plus Club, the management team. I hope consisting of all of you. So we need all those roles. I won't repeat them. You've seen them in the job description, and probably there would be more roles needed and more people needed. So we would see. So that's our current kind of MVP pre-seed level of understanding what people we need and what functions we need and what we want those people to do. Yeah, and that's probably one more thing is this individual sustainable development plans is this format that we've created basically that every club member should have his or her individual sustainable development plans, basically stating his or her goals for the year, for his personal kind of life, what he take from the world, like healthcare, finance, career, money, relationships, whatever. And the second part being the impact to the society that is usually conveyed through his or her professional activities, right? Some business, some organization, NGO, etc. And we also want to again, nudge and help people to set those targets in a smart way and to attain those targets. And basically, we help through the networking, through knowledge sharing, and basically consultations of those people that are made for free within the club members. We want to help each and every member to attain those goals, because at the end of the day, they will make some impact that will help the humanity to reach the SDGs, and we all will benefit from that. That's it. I will probably end here. I took even like less time than I expected, so probably we would have more time for the questions. So the floor is yours. Please feel free to ask any questions that you are interested in, presuming they are interesting for the majority of the current participants. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sorry, Diana, you can, but I guess Mohammed was first, and
okay.
he just posted his questions in the chat. So what actions have been taken till now by SDG? You mean by SDG Plus Club, right? Because I hope I don't have to answer for the UN and every other organization that is doing everything, like a lot of things to attain SDGs. So we have reached 100 participants. We have made, I guess, a couple of dozens of individual sustainable development plans. We have managed to do a lot of networking sessions between the members, and they have already gained some benefit from that, like either job offerings or some deals, investment deals, or some employments, or partnerships. Again, making some business together. So that's a typical kind of networking thing. And you know what? I guess one of the main results of our club till now is that we have managed to formulate this kind of goals, philosophy, and operational model that has led us to this name, because that was not the initial name of the club. It was called Why. And the reason why it was called Why, because we were interested in the reason of things, why we are here, why things are like they are, etc. So that was more kind of a philosophical aspect. But then we understood that, okay, so we all kind of believe in this reasonism thing, that we need to progress the humanity, to save the humanity. So what will we do about that? Okay, then we understand that the SDG is probably the main framework that is already addressing the same goal, and we just need to help it to be accomplished, right? So how can we do that? And what would be the unique function of the club? Why won't it duplicate all other nonprofits, associations, or bodies, or whatever? And so to formulate this mission, to formulate this kind of unique value proposition, took us time. Right? So I guess this is the main result. And the second question, must the person have experience to get role in the club? Example, he wants to be a membership manager, but he hadn't done it before. Well, first of all, I guess it's competitive. So between two equal people with equal aspirations and kind of soft skills, we definitely would prefer a person who has done something like that before. But probably we won't have those contestants with this deep experience. So therefore, the one could be, even without experience, the best candidate for the role. So probably you've heard about the Teal organization. But if not to go deeper in that, I would just say that as a former HR, my goal is to make the best match between the job profile and the person. So basically, if you think you are the best person in the world for this position or role, then take it. If you don't think so, then just help the world to get the best person to this role. So because I believe that if everybody in the world would be at his or her place, meaning at the role that perfectly satisfies and corresponds with his or her ikigai, probably you've heard about this notion, then a world would be a better place to be in, right? So there are no mandatory obligations, expectations. But yeah, so if you've had experience in sustainable development, in coaching, in event management, in social media marketing management, it would definitely be an advantage for you as the candidate. So now I hope, Mohammed, I've answered your question. And now we can pass over to Diana or Diana. Please ask your question.
Yeah, I think in Russian it is pronounced as Diana. So Diana. I wanted to ask how often in a month we should give you the results of our jobs. Is it like weekly, daily, or like once in a quarter?
Hourly. I just wanted to joke hourly. No, that's not true. Yes, Ashraf and Yeva can attest that we meet only once a week, and it happens at approximately this time. So at the weekends, because at the weekdays I work. So I don't have time, and we are not having overlapping time zones, so it's not very convenient. So to even meet, let's say, in the evening after my working hours, because almost all the employees, if we can call it like that, they're already sleeping at that time. So our overlapping hours are all in the weekends. And by the way, the same thing happens with the meetings of the club itself. So because we're all in the different time zones, the best day when we can meet all together is at some weekday. Currently it's Saturday, because for some people it would be 6 a.m. and they get up very early in the morning to participate. And for some people it would be 9 p.m. And so they would have to not to go to sleep quite late to again to be able to participate. For instance, just yesterday I interviewed 2 participants from Australia, and I guess for them it would be even later, like 10 p.m. and the meeting would end at 1 a.m. So, but still they agree because they believe that it deserves not to stay up late. So we meet once a week. Sometimes there are some short operational tasks and expectations that you need to perform within the day. I don't know, send some contact or some preliminary version of the document so that I can check it, and then you can post it by the end of the week. So there are some interactions, but they are all happening online, so with an asynchronous mode. So you don't need to answer immediately. You're not expected to. So you just need to fulfill your own kind of deadlines. So if you said to me on Sunday that I would do something by Tuesday, then I'm expecting that by Tuesday I would receive something from you, right? So, but that doesn't mean that you have to meet with me and to report and to present this, because I don't have this opportunity to meet with you, unfortunately. So I will try to check it kind of offline, and then I'll go back to you. And within one day, like 24 hours, I would expect that you would answer me something in the chat. Like, I've received your answer. Oh, okay, I will do that. Oh, so just so that you just don't kind of disappear for a week, and then you just show up at the end of the week and say, oh, I haven't done that, or I have these questions, or these are the preliminary results, but you have to check them because I won't be able to satisfy all your needs in one day. So it is a kind of incremental work. But yeah, we meet only once a week. And those meetings, I guess, would last with each and every one of you 1 hour. So we would have 1 hour one-on-one where we would discuss like your personal tasks, like basically what have you done during the week and what are your plans for the next week. That's it. And you basically show me 1 slide, 2 columns, the things that I've done, the things that I'm planning to do, and we kind of approve it that this is your target for the next week. And the second meeting, I guess it's very important. is when we meet all together as a team. So all, for instance, 10 of us meet and also for an hour. And you, again, it's dedicated basically for you. So I am not even needed at that meeting. It's dedicated so that you can exchange what you're doing in your kind of silos, so that you sync and understands that there is nothing overlapping, nothing intersecting, you don't duplicate each other. Or like in a volleyball team, somebody is with the ball, now he passes over the ball to the other person. Somebody has written the content, somebody has gathered this content from a person, the other one has copyrighted it, the third one has posted it. So it's kind of a team play, yeah, right? So you have to interact with each other. But of course, you can interact during the week at any time you prefer. But I hope that at least once a week, you can gather all together and kind of sync very shallowly, like these are the things, like top 3 things I'm doing right now, just so that you know, you're informed. And if you have any ideas, guys, or suggestions, or you think I should do something else, and I'm not stressing enough attention on that, so please feel free to kind of suggest that, right? So it's just a friendly talk where we exchange all together, like what we're doing, what's on our agenda. So have I answered your question, Diana?
Yeah, you actually answered all of my questions by
Okay.
answering one. Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So let's pass over to the
Anton, you are on mute.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was just reading the question. So the question is about our target portrait of the audience. So I guess there is, but it's quite wide. So basically the same requirements that we kind of have for you guys. So it has to be a human being with some knowledge of English, right? So that reduces the audience like probably 8 times, but still not 30 times it would be if we were to talk Russian, for instance. So it has to know English. It has to have access to internet. And again, we cut a couple of billions of people from Earth, unfortunately, because they don't have access to internet or not enough quick access to have this video simultaneous kind of conference. So in having the computer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So and it has to be the person has to be interested in sustainable development, right? So we don't want to spend too much time, at least within the club members, to explain each and every time from scratch what is sustainable development about, right? So we expect some familiarity with the term, with the concept, and not only familiarity and even the desire to do something, but we also expect that the person has already proved his or her kind of intentions by doing something, right? Either that could be at least posting something in his blog or social media, or doing something, or changing his experience, or educating, I mean, like passing some education on sustainable development, or working in some role. For instance, we understand that there are 4 million people in LinkedIn that have sustainability mentioned in their profiles, right? So this is our target audience already. So they are all on LinkedIn, they all have computers, internet, know English, and have something to do with sustainability. And basically, currently, our main source of leads or potential candidates is LinkedIn. We just search LinkedIn with the right tags, you know, search keywords, and then we look through the profiles, and we just write to those people, invite them to my kind of profile as a connection, and then we reach out to those people and suggest to meet. Again, so we don't suggest to meet, we just ask them to go to the site and read it, and if they find it interesting, then we meet with the person and kind of discuss the topic, and if the person is interested to become a member, then he becomes the member. So I guess it's, on the one hand, very broad, but at the same time, quite rigorous, because a person has to be not hedonistic. And as you can imagine, a lot of people that say that they do sustainability actually do that only for money, because that's a trend, or they are asked to do that from their employer, etc. But they don't actually believe in that, and they don't do anything, and they don't change their lifestyle at all. So they can continue to consume a lot, excessively, and basically they don't believe in sustainability. So and therefore we don't accept those people in the club. So that's a criterion. Does your club have a brand book? Can I see it? Thank you very much. Brand book? You mean like the design and things of that sort? No, I guess not. We only have this logo that basically I painted in PowerPoint, and Ashraf helped me to kind of a little bit polish it. And it has the official SDG colors and this kind of circle, but then it has a plus in the center, and it's purple. And there is some philosophy in that as well. Just briefly, well, first of all, purple is the color of the maximum energy. Secondly, purple was the color that was originally accessible only by royalty, but then by the means of technological advancement, it became democratic, so accessible by everybody. And the third thing why purple is because in a lot of theories of personal maturity, personal development, there is this color differentiation from red being animalistic, hedonistic, to purple being spiritual and being responsible and being associating yourself with the humanity, etc. So like higher levels of consciousness. So that's why purple color is our basically official color. And well, again, plus just signifies that there's something more than just SDGs. And I've already told you that those three things that are in our kind of explanation of why it is SDG plus. So this is our brand book that I have just told you, basically. Okay, how do you attract new members to the club? Well, I guess I have already answered this question partially, but the second instrument is the participants themselves. So we inspire the participants, the members, to share the information about the club with their friends and colleagues, and we encourage them to be able to explain, at least on some shallow level, what's the club about. But then again, we try to interview those candidates, at least by some other participant or by myself, to exclude some, affiliation, some kind of subjective perception, etc. So that really new candidates would satisfy the criteria that we have. How do you get funding? I fund everything. There's a very simple answer to that question. So I've worked for Sber, I've earned a lot of money, and I feel my obligation to return those money to the humanity, which enabled me to earn those money in the first place. But probably in the future, we would have some other sources of funding, if and when we need those. We'll see. Yes, remote. There is no plan to make the club physical in the future because that would be unsustainable. Any physical meeting demands people to travel to some certain place. That's the first thing. Demands to spend some time to travel there, to rent some space that needs to be heated and managed, and it's also unsustainable to exploit excessive buildings, excessive heat, etc. And the second reason is because it would be unequal. So it won't be equally accessible by every person in the world, because not everybody would be able to travel to another country to participate, either by visa issues or by money issues or time issues, whatever. So there's no plan to make the club offline, and there's the reason for that. Well, as for a legal entity, again, there is no legal entity for the moment, and that creates a lot of advantages. So we're not limited with any regulation of any country, and no affiliation with the regulation of any country. But probably in the future, we would make a legal entity. For instance, my friends have already told me that in the United States, you can officially open a nonprofit or the company for the public good. So probably just in terms of the convenience, because I'm supposed to be in the US, we'll open a legal entity in the US, but there is no, again, there is no goal to do that. And as long as I can stay without a legal entity, because that would be additional bureaucracy, additional finance needed to support that we will stay as long as possible without the legal entity. But if we need that at some point, we will create that. If you get accepted, you can start working the next day. So as simple as that. Are the positions paid or unpaid? Well, I think this is an attention question, because in the job description, it was written explicitly that it is a paid job. And although depending on the location you are, it won't probably be as competitive as a commercial company can pay you, but still, basically the only funding from me that is needed is basically to pay you the salary. And this is how I contribute. And yeah, so it is supposed to be a paid job, but if for some reason you are ready to dedicate a significant chunk of your time for free, because probably you also feel that you can just, let's say, share that money with somebody else, so that we can hire one more manager and we can expand our impact even more, then of course you're free to do so. Yes, so the club members, they create and they publish their ISDPs. They present them on the club meetings, and those videos are also published, and we try to promote them. So they commit to some targets publicly. It's done for the purpose of anti-procrastination, so that they would feel their obligation to do that. And at the same time, of course, and they're also very much encouraged to do so. So basically, a part of the ISDP, as one of the tasks, is to share with the club your experience in some way, right? Usually it's to make some presentation about an area you're an expert at or in. And again, those presentations are recorded, then published and disseminated and populated, etc. So yes, every member has to create and publish his or her ISDP, and at the same time, separately make a presentation sharing his or her experience and knowledge. Again, in a way, helping other participants and the outer public to set the targets, to reach the targets. So it all kind of circles around ISDPs and its creation and accomplishment. Communication within the work team. Well, to the point, there were no mentors. except for me. And I hope I have managed to fulfill that task. And I hope Ashraf and Evgenia can attest to that. So basically, I would be your mentor if you want. If you don't want, I won't be. So I'm not kind of forcing you to have me as your mentor. But if you need any help, clarification, then of course you are free to ask me or the colleagues if they are. I hope that like this time, so because Ashraf and Evgenia were and are the first managers, so there was only me to help them and navigate them. So currently we have them, so probably they would be able to help you again if they can. But usually each one of you would have separate tasks, separate roles, and I just have so many ideas and tasks for you. So I guess that it would be more efficient if I can explain and help you to accomplish your task like kind of directly. So we would be able to communicate during the week online, and then yes, at the end of the week, 1 hour kind of personal meeting. And I think it could be enough. So yes, but that means that you have to be quite autonomous, kind of self-motivated, self-organized, very inquisitive, and again, so autonomous, right? Mature, responsible. That's it. The core team currently consists of 3 of us, right? That's true. And we think that after a month, there would be 10 of us. So 7 more. So we'll see how it will go. So it seems I've answered all the questions in the chat. Do you have any more kind of online, verbal questions?
Can I, sorry, once again?
Of course.
Is your main motivation of your organization to facilitate individuals to follow sustainable development goals and contribute to their development? And for example, through social media and everywhere, how do you measure your impact onto individuals? Is it like only measured by participation of your club, or you see, for example, you see this information and you analyze how much people you've involved in your activity through, for example, counting comments, counting views of your posts, or any social media involvement. Maybe you are participating in some forums and present yourself, and you see that, for example, facilitators of those forums and conferences see you and maybe agree with your main idea.
Yeah, okay. So first of all, yes, the club is focused on individuals, but as I've said, this splits into 2 parts. The first one is their personal kind of lifestyle choices, and we track that through the basically presentations and reports of our club members, how they do that, how they progress, they share their experience, etc. And the second part is the impact on the society that is broader, and that is done predominantly through some business activities, right? So our club members are all engaged in this or that sort of business activities, like myself, right? So, and all those activities have their impact, right? For instance, my impact this year would be 20 million CO2 equivalent tons saved or decreased from the carbon footprint of the world, right? So this I initiate through the projects with the oil and gas companies that I work with, right? So I help them being more sustainable. Our other participants are in education, in healthcare, in environmental kind of ecological preservation, etc. So they all have different projects, and they also share the results of their projects with us. And we kind of have already started to accumulate them on our site. And probably Ashraf can comment whether we have already kind of posted some of the projects on our site, or we are in the process. But anyway, sooner or later, all of the results and impacts of our club members' organizations would be on our site, and we would populate that impact as a cumulative impact of the club, right? So we influence the society not only directly through those intellectual products, and I will cover this part in a second, but also mainly through the physical activities of our club members, right? And we help them to accomplish their projects, and there could be numerous projects and absolutely different projects. So as for the direct impact that you've mentioned also, so currently we have basically my accounts, social media accounts like LinkedIn, Facebook, Contakte, YouTube, etc. And we populate the summaries of the meetings, the videos, my personal kind of articles, etc. In different media. And well, yeah, we have a target also to increase the number of subscribers and probably as a consequence, the number of likes, shares, comments, etc. And this would be the area where we would love to focus on for our future social media marketing manager, right? So basically, this would be the second part where we share the content directly with the public. And even if they're not club members and we don't monitor their activity, at least we know through those metrics that they have read this and somehow engaged with this content, right? This would be the impact also. It would be an indirect impact, right? Because people could have just read it and haven't done anything, but still that would be a proxy, a second kind of part of the impact we produce. And yes, one of the targets of the social media marketing manager and the content managers would be to gather the content, create the content, publicate the content, promote the content, engage, increase the engagement of the audience with this content. And those metrics would also be important and valuable per se, but also their goal is to serve as the lead generation for the club members, so that when people read the content, they become inspired and they want to become club members, and then they fill out the form on the site and pass the interview and become club members. So the content we publish has two-pronged goal: to make this indirect impact and to engage new members. So that's how we do the social media and impact. So I guess I can now continue with the questions in the chat. So Mohammed, thank you for this high assessment. I won't totally agree. I think we're in a very nascent stage and we have more questions than answers, but still we think we're enough sure in what we do to act, right? So of course we are skeptical and we try to be critical and assess ourselves every day and to improve, to become better versions of ourselves. But still we think that we should already act and do at least something that we are already kind of convinced that we have to do. So how long did it take? Well, as I've said, probably, no, that was in the interview I've given an hour ago. So sorry. So it took me about 3 years just to read about that stuff and to educate myself and to come up with an idea. And then I just gathered my friends. At the beginning, there were 30 of them, and it was only an hour and a half ago. And so we kind of naturally grew to 100 without basically any marketing through this 1.5 years, just because people were feeling that, sorry, I'm having some insects here in Colombia. There are a lot of them. So yeah, it happened naturally. So basically by the word of mouth, right? So that's how long did it take. And as for the future, well, well, I guess this year we have this plan. Then I think that in 3-5 years, we can grow to 20,000 participants. And there is some math to it, some formula. It's also, I guess, feasible. So that's one of the targets for the next 3 to 5 years. And I guess we will expand also the content we produce and the number of people that have access to that content, right? So the question that Diana has covered. So we are going to increase those metrics probably. Well, I guess, yeah, I think we can cover millions of people at least that would in this or that sort interact with the contents we produce or with the services of our club members. Oh, I think I'm being shy. I'm sure those would be hundreds of millions of people. You know why? Because only I have already impacted hundreds of millions of people in my previous job. So that's not that hard, basically. You just need to have a director level position or a successful startup to impact already hundreds of millions of people. So, but still in the club, like the leaders club, there would be probably up to 20,000 people because I don't expect there are more people in the world that are ready, mature, let's say, enough to really participate for free and share even more and think of something else than themselves and their business. So, but why 20,000? Because this number of people is already enough to change the world. So I've just calculated if exactly 20,000 people would produce the same impact I would this year, then basically we would reach the Paris Agreement Accord targets in 1 year. So this number of people is enough, of leaders is enough to really make the change. Probably would be more, probably a little bit less. That's just a kind of approximate number. So yeah, 3-5 years in the future, and well, probably in the future, I guess we would be able to influence the decisions made on the UN level. So probably those SDG plus targets would be approved from 2030 to 2045. So this is one of the possible targets we have. So yes, that's probably a dream, but I guess that's a feasible dream because we already know people that have created the SDGs in the first place, right? So that's not, again, world is much simpler than it seems to be. And networking, you can do 6 handshakes and get yourself acquainted with almost any minister in any country. That's not an issue. I know personally half of the ministers of Russia, and that wasn't an issue. They're not that unreachable, and we have done a lot of cool stuff with them. So yeah, that's not kind of too unrealistic. And that's probably one of the reasons why I started the club, because I believe, based on my personal experience, that it's feasible, it's real. We can make the change. You just need to get up from your bed and do something. So when will you be able to make a decision on who will join you as employees, at least approximately? Well, first of all, it's up to you. So after this kind of group interview, where basically you interview me most of the time, so and I answer your questions, you make a decision for yourself whether you are in or not. Okay, so and whether you want to proceed to the next phase, that would be a one-to-one interview. And please make this decision and write to me directly or to Ashraf. What's your decision? And if you want to proceed, so we will then arrange a separate one-on-one interview where I would be interviewing you, and with each and every one of you who decide to proceed. And yeah, so actually, I think I would be able either to make a decision instantaneously, so right in the meeting, or it would just take me some time, probably up to a couple of weeks, just to understand how should I arrange the team in terms of the roles, right? Because each and every one of you can want to kind of take different roles, right? And we would need to distribute the roles between each and every one of you, right? And that would be kind of a complex task, so that on the one hand, your desires are satisfied, but on the other hand, all the functions that are needed for the club to be performed are basically met and covered, right? So probably I would come back to you and ask and say, well, this is the role we actually have for you, based on your competencies, desires, aspirations, experience, etc. So that would be basically an offer that would be a little bit more customized and specific, and you would answer, do you want to take that role or not? So again, that would be your final decision. So I guess it will take us up to a couple of weeks to have those one-on-one interviews. And by the way, we can have, and I really ask you not to take a lot of time, please make the decision right now, or probably, you know, in an hour after this meeting, so that we can arrange next interviews either later today or tomorrow. So therefore, we won't need to wait for another week to have those one-on-one interviews. Again, that would be beneficial for you, because basically it's first in, first served, right? Because after a month, we would just hire those that we hire, and then we'll just stop recruiting anymore. So I'm sorry about that, but that's how it works. So we can't interview people infinitely, right? And we need you right now. We need you to start working as soon as possible. So please don't take long to make those initial decisions whether you want to proceed to the interview or not. Okay, so that's it. Do you have any more questions? Okay, looking in the eyes of Diana, I see that no. That's kind of a unverbal language, right? So a body language. So thank you very much. It took us only 1 hour. We were very quick. Yeah, so 1 hour seems to be enough to cover the main things. Thank you for your participation and for your time. Sorry if I have disappointed some of you. That was not intentional. The world is very complex, and you know, yeah, we are different, and yeah, I know this club is something specific, so probably not all of you are inspired at this moment, but still, this is the way, as Mandalorians say. This is the way. So, and sometimes it's hard. So, but still, if you are inspired, if you believe you have those strengths, energy, time within yourselves, then please let's proceed to the next phases and talk with you one-on-one. And yeah, I hope most of you would join our team, improve, extend our team, and we can make some difference in the world, and hopefully in your personal lives as well, because that's one of the targets. You are the most basically significant part. You are those people, right? And we are to help you as well, help each other, basically. That's it. So live long and prosper, and see you. I hope to see you all in the next couple of days. Bye-bye.